Hi, it's Whitney Wiley, and thank you for joining me for this edition of Love Your Work. And today I have with me Tracy Bianco. How are you doing, Tracy?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for this opportunity today, Whitney. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm honored to have you here. It is always a pleasure to talk with someone who is into leadership as much as I am. And, we haven't met in person, but as I was looking over your bio, your leadership training, coaching, involvement goes way back. So let's start sort of where you are right now and what exactly you're doing as a leadership coach and speaker. And then we'll take a little trip down memory lane.
That sounds like a wonderful plan. I'm ready for the ride.
Cool.
Where I am at right now, I am the founder and CEO of Brightside Training Solutions. And as the founder of that company, I work both with organizations as well as individual leaders. When I work with organizations, what I'm helping them with is overall leadership development. We work on what is it that the leader can do to really view his or her team members as the assets that they truly are, build them up, team members, build them up from the inside out so that employee engagement, which is such a catchphrase these days, right? The employee engagement happens more naturally because of the fact that the leader is indeed treating those people as he or she would want to be treated.
Yes.
When I work with leaders individually, they reach out for private coaching, and 99% of the time where we get started, regardless of the reason that they come to me. So they come to me because they're in leadership and they want to get to a higher leadership position. They're in leadership and they really want to switch organizations. They want to find a different job. They want to know how to lead their team members more effectively. Whatever the reasons are, 99% of the time we start with what they can do to lead themselves first.
Yes.
And again, it all ties back to self-belief and self-acceptance. There is a reason that lead yourself first is at the core of all the work I do. And it is because I went through the majority of my career not leading myself first.
Yes. It's interesting how that works out. I am actually in the middle of writing a chapter to contribute to a book. And um, just before we got on, that's, I think, a sentence that I wrote almost verbatim.
Oh,
It's like,
wow.
that is, it really is the essence of
Yeah.
good leadership. Leading well is if you can't lead yourself, you cannot lead others. And you can't lead yourself if you don't know who you are, you don't know how you navigate the world, impact people, have awareness around that, understand all those components so that you can take that and make the necessary adjustment. I don't believe that we need to fix ourselves, but I do believe that we can look in the mirror and make micro adjustments that help move us along. So,
I agree wholeheartedly. I think something that all human beings have in common is that there are times when our brain is going to tell us you don't know what you're doing, they're going to find you out, you don't have any experience with this. It's our brain's way of keeping us safe
yes,
and in our comfort zone. So it's doing its job. And what I did for so many years was I just listened to that part. Yeah, you're right. I don't really know what I'm doing. And I had to learn through many failures that I experienced that I understand you're keeping me safe.
yes,
I'm not going to listen to you right now. I'm going to come over here to this other voice in my brain who's saying, you've got this. You know you can do this, girl. Now let's go for it. So that was what started turning around my own leadership journey.
Yes,
And I realized the more I filled myself up on the inside, the better I was at leading others
absolutely.
because I wasn't battling with that message in my brain as much.
And I would imagine part of that for you was getting pretty intentional about how you wanted to lead, right? Not just yourself, but other people, because it's very easy to sort of lead out of your ego
Mhm.
and not think of your team members first, right? And
Yeah.
rather than understanding you lift your team members up, you get what you want and need out of that
Yeah.
without doing it the other way, which inevitably serves to keep them down.
That's exactly it. We are on the same page. But I do think about some of the teams that I led in the past, and I think back to the individual people on those teams, and I think, did I care for those people? Did I support them? Did I want them to achieve success? For me, the answers to those questions are all yes. My career actually started as an elementary school teacher, and I say once a teacher, always a teacher. It always lives within me. I want people to do well. I want to support them to the best of my ability. And I think that the thing that has changed for me over these last 8 or 10 years is that to the best of my ability has only up leveled
Yes.
when I decided, let's look inward rather than outward as much. So I've always view it like the coffee mug, and you fill it on a chilly morning. You fill it with that warm liquid. I say warm liquid because I'm the only adult on the face of the earth that doesn't drink coffee. So I do hot
I
tea.
see. There's another one. I'm not
Oh,
a coffee drinker
so
either.
you fill that coffee mug with the hot tea, and you can actually feel the warmth of that mug. That's how I picture when I'm doing my own personal and professional development and helping others in those same areas. It's filling up ourselves with that warmth so that the confidence builds and the competence builds, and we are a brighter light for others.
And
Yeah.
so it seems like the concept is that what you give other people then comes from the overflow of you rather than you trying to take
Yeah.
to fill yourself up the other way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
exactly it. And you used the word ego a short time ago. I do think that it happens for leaders. You've got so many responsibilities, you've got all these people reporting to you. Things are moving fast, and that's just professional life. We all have personal lives as well, and there are a lot of moving parts there too. When we've got so much on our plate, I don't personally believe that it is a conscious decision to give people less than they
Mm,
deserve.
right,
Excuse me.
right.
I think it's a matter of overwhelm and too much going on. And then it is true that sometimes that ego gets in the way. When you used that word earlier, it took me back to some of the leadership positions that I held. And I thought about times, it's not that I ever believe that I threw a team member under the bus. That was never my intent. But there are things that I think about, like, wow, how could I have shown up in
Yeah.
a stronger, more courageous way at that time? And what have I learned as a result of that experience, so
Right.
many experiences that I can now share with others as they're on their leadership journeys?
And I think that's the piece that becomes about intentionality, because if you don't stop, you don't connect with who you are and what you're doing, and then stop to see how what you're doing, if it is in alignment with, let's hope that you have a leadership vision,
Yeah,
right? Not
yeah,
just for your team, but for how you're going to move forward. If it's not in alignment, then you can make some adjustments. I think one of the failings is that often people are put into positions of leadership and they don't stop to develop a vision for how they're going to lead. What understand what their purpose is. And you
Yes.
started this conversation talking about lifting other people up, empowering. And if you don't understand that that's your role
Yeah.
as a leader, you think your job is, cracking whips and just getting
Hmm.
people to go, rather than to influence them,
Yes.
empower them, lift them up, and you all are moving together. If you don't understand that purpose, it's a little difficult to be intentional about how you go about implementing that purpose.
So true. So true. I think about the leaders that I currently work with, and even ones I've worked with in the past, the leaders that have shared with me that they do believe that part of their role is to help develop their team members so well and so much that those team members then move on either up in the organization or even out to another organization. And when I hear that from a leader, it going back to that warm feeling on the inside, it's that whole idea of I, the leader, am here to influence these people on my team to be the best they can be. Yes, we have goals, we have KPIs, we have the expectations of the workplace, and we are doing those things. And I want the best for this person. I want he or she to be the best that person can be.
Absolutely.
That's really something for me. Every time I hear that, I'm like, you got it.
So then I was going to ask, so what is it that you love about the work that you're doing?
Oh, man. So, real quick background. I mentioned earlier that I started off as an elementary school teacher. I did a complete 180 after about a dozen years of doing that. And I started working in the business world at kind of as a receptionist. I was going to school at night and needed to bring in some income. And what ended up happening in that workplace in the business world, which for me was very different from the world of education, what ended up happening was that I got this business education as I was promoted into different leadership positions. I've shared already today that I didn't have 100% successes. I've yet to meet someone who does, but there were a lot of failures in my leadership journey. And I made a decision about 8 or 9 years ago that I wanted to up-level my own leadership journey, and I wanted to have full reins over what I do. So I started my own business, and this is a long way around to the answer to your question, Whitney, but I think one of the things that I love so much about my work right now is being able to help people who feel like they're stuck, they're overwhelmed, they're stressed, they feel like they're not good enough or not getting the results that they really want. I am able, in the work that I have the privilege of doing, to help them understand you have what you need right now. We can polish some of the rough edges. Of course, I can help with that. Let's also fill you up on the inside. And this is not a fib at all. Every morning when I open my eyes, my very first thing is gratitude that I opened my eyes for another day, and also that I get to do this amazing work that I do. It's I never could have guessed that I would end up in my career feeling so lit up every day. I just can't wait to work with my clients and talk with people like you.
I love that. I love that. And that's the whole point of this show, is to let people know that it is possible to do that, right? Work doesn't have to be a burden. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a curse. It doesn't have to be just something I have to do. Um,
Yep.
if you want, it can be something that you truly enjoy, that you're passionate about. And I feel the same way every day when I wake up and I get up. I start with gratitude, and
Yeah.
then I move into my meditation and priming and the other stuff. And I'm thinking about the day, and I'm thinking about the impact that I get to make, the
Yeah.
opportunities that I have to meet amazing people who are doing amazing things.
Hmm.
And it makes me feel, it's like, wow, I really get to be a
Yeah.
part of this. And
Yeah.
it's exciting, it's fun, and I love what I get to do. So um, obviously that hasn't always been the case for you, right? There have been times when maybe what you were doing or the way it was done or where you were,
Yeah.
you weren't so lit up. So
Yeah.
let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
Let's start with, what was your very first job, say, that wasn't a babysitting job?
My very first job I did a lot of babysitting. So through high school and even in college, I babysat. And so my first real job was actually my teaching job. I started teaching fourth grade right out of college when I got my bachelor's. Yeah. And I
And
do remember my first day
did
where
you really?
I remember.
Is
So
that a good thing or a bad
well,
thing?
I was just going to say, people think, well, I know what a teacher does. I went to school, I understand it. And it was about 10 minutes before the bell was going to ring and the kids were going to come into the classroom for the first time. So I had the classroom looking all decorated and pretty, and I've got my brand new pens and pencils, and I'm ready to go. And I looked out at that empty classroom with all the desks in it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, we're really doing this. Like, they're going to be listening to me. I hope they're going to be listening to me. But it was that feeling, even as a teacher, it's different than leading adults in a workplace, but you are leading. For me, fourth graders, they were 9 and 10 years old. You are the leader
Yes,
for that school
absolutely.
year, not just of the kids that you have the privilege of working with each day, but also the parents
Yeah.
that you're dealing with, that the kids are going home to each day after school. So what I remember at the beginning of that job is that I was really scared and doubtful. So again, that goes into that lead yourself first. I listened too often to the doubt that I had within me.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that I didn't show up for those kids every day. It doesn't mean that I didn't, go through the curriculum and the different expectations. But boy, there were times I was questioning myself. I was fresh out of college, just shiny and green.
I'm sure you did an amazing job, and your students were blessed to have you.
Well, thank you.
So, how long did you teach fourth grade?
I taught fourth grade for 9 years, I think, and then I taught third grade. So I moved schools. I went from a very small school where I taught fourth grade. There were 3 classrooms of fourth grade and then fifth and sixth graders there. When I moved to another school in the district to teach third grade, there were 10 third grade
Mm,
classrooms. And so I moved to a school that was about triple the size of the school that I had left. So that was an adjustment. I did think at that point in my career, hey, let me change grade levels. Which, by the way, fourth grade to third grade doesn't sound like a huge adjustment. But at the end of fourth grade to the beginning of third grade, that's a big,
I bet. I bet.
I finished with almost fifth graders, and I went in with just got done with second grade.
Right, right.
So,
Oh,
there was a big difference there, but I really thought that that was the key for me of, I'm feeling a little, I don't want to say burnt out, bored. I was feeling bored. I
okay.
understand the fourth grade curriculum. Let me move, not just grade levels, but let me switch schools too. And I thought this is going to be it. And then I did third grade just for a couple years. And I was like, I got to find something else.
And so, when you left teaching children, where did you go next?
One of the things I did in my last year of teaching, I went to night school, court reporting school. So learned to stenographer basically. And after my last year of teaching, I started working for a legal services business. Their clients are law firms, and they don't employ, they have subcontractor court reporters. So I went to school at night. While I did that, this is the job where I started off pretty much as a receptionist. I was filing things. The job for me was very easy, many days too easy. Too easy means boredom, right?
Right.
But it was a very fast growing company. And so I was in on the growth of the company and understanding from my teaching background how people learn best, how to bring the right people in for the team, how to organize departments. And so that work for a while really lit me up, and I loved my work for a while until I didn't. So, one of the things as we're going through my work history, I actually do have a lot of people in my personal circle that are in their 50s who have always worked the same job for the same organization since they graduated college. And my brain, as I was going from teaching fourth grade, let me try third grade, let me try being a court reporter, let me do these different things, I kept saying to myself, like, what's wrong with me? Why haven't I found my place? And what I realize now is all those pit stops along the way is how I was able to find my place. I could not have left my teaching career to be a leadership coach and leadership development specialist.
Right.
I couldn't have done that. I needed to work for that business and understand the inner workings and working with adults as opposed to kids and all the changes that I experienced. So yeah, I lasted at the legal services business for about 11 years.
Okay.
I'm good for about a dozen years with my jobs. I left there and I decided to venture out on my own. I started immediately doing corporate training, and I was doing that all over the country. So I was flying to different cities every week, was working as a subcontractor for a really big training company, and liked it, didn't love it. I'm a person, I really like filling up my toolbox. So I liked going back to court reporting school. I loved learning how to use that machine and getting faster on it. And I actually got to the end of the program. You have to pass 3 tests at 225 words a minute. I passed my first 225, and people in my inner circle were saying, "You got this. You're so close. You're going to do it." My brain all through court reporting school was, I don't know about this. I like to talk a lot, and court reporters take down what other people say.
I don't get to say anything ever, right?
So I did the corporate training for a little while, and I got to a certain point where I realized essentially what I was doing there was going into an organization or into a public setting like a hotel conference room and sharing a leadership or communication based topic for 1 or 2 days. And then I would pack my bag and I'd go to the next place. My belief is that we can all take in information. We can read, we can listen to podcasts, we can learn from others in school. However we want to take in information, it's beneficial. In order for us to make use of it, we've got to apply it. We've got to implement it. And I realized with that corporate training that I was doing, I was missing that last piece of it because that's not their business structure. That's not how they design their business. So I broke away from that subcontracting that I did to do what I do now. And finally, I feel like Goldilocks with the this one's too hot, this one's too cold, this one's just right. I finally found that place. This is what I was made to do. And I when I am hired to do speaking engagements or training and facilitation for different work groups, and I talk a little bit about my why, I do get asked by some people, so Tracy, what you're saying is in order to find my place in life, I have to start my own company. No, 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 no. What I do know is that when we find our place, when we find that thing that makes us love our work, we know we're in the right spot. It's like,
Exactly.
this is what I've been working toward finding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say that because the majority of the people that I have interviewed on here have been self-employed. but not everyone has. And
Yep.
it really comes down to, in my opinion, is understanding, going back to the beginning about the leadership journey, right? Is understanding who you are. What are your values and your priorities? What are you passionate about?
Hmm.
What is it that you feel like you have to give and to share, to serve? And you can do that for yourself. You can do that for other people.
Yep.
It just becomes a matter of you being in touch with what that is. And so, as you were saying that as part of your journey, you were trying different things, but people who have stayed in one place the whole time. Not to disparage them, but I wonder how many of them that I know, other people know, um, viewers,
Hmm.
that have stayed somewhere where it is because you love being there, that you
Yeah.
have found a connection with that, as opposed to it's comfortable and it's easier to stay than to try something new, which can be scary, right? You
Yes.
started your own business. I started my own business before I started my business. I had gone back to school, went to law school.
Hmm.
I gotten various jobs, and each time you change jobs, you're doing something new.
Yeah.
So you're already, I'm just going to say this to you, if you're watching, unless you've had the same job since high school, only one, you have done something new and you've survived every time you've done something new.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. And you don't have to, take a big leap. You can take small steps.
Hmm.
It could be exploring something that you're interested in at the community college, which is how I actually ended up where I am. I started by just taking some courses at the community college because the place I was working, I thought they were doing management and leadership all wrong. And I wanted to know if I was right. So I started taking some classes at
Uh-huh.
community college. I was like, I really enjoyed what I was learning, and then moved on and studied and got a master's degree in this area. So, it change can be challenging,
Hmm.
but it's not the end of the world. And
Yeah.
again, going back to understanding who you are, when you can do that, you can actually move to a place where you are loving, jumping out of bed in the morning. you know
Hmm.
Everybody doesn't jump out of bed at 4:45 so that they can get their day rolling to have fabulous conversations with people like you. But I get to do that. So
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I just heard you say earlier, you said something about have to, and you just said, I get to do that. That's a huge part of the work that I do with my clients and work that I do myself as well. It's the difference between the have to life and a get to life. And even as simple as I have to go grocery shopping after work tonight because our refrigerator is so bare right now and nobody else in the house is going to do it. Even switching
are you
something like
looking in my
that.
refrigerator?
Even switching something like that, though, to the
Yeah,
get to. I get to go to the grocery store that I enjoy, that's got the best produce, that will allow me to fill up our fridge, the pantry, whatever it might be. And I get to do that for myself and my family.
absolutely.
And it's an honor to be able to do that rather than a have to.
Absolutely. The mindset is so pivotal
Yeah.
um, in how we navigate all of this. So, Tracy, I was interested in knowing, and as we get ready to wrap this up, when you think about the course of your life, the work that you've done over your life,
Hmm.
teaching and training, now coaching, speaking, if you could sum it up sort of in one lesson that you could share, what piece of advice or some wisdom would you like to impart?
Yeah. I'm going to start off really simple with three words: go for it, period. And it goes back to what you shared a short time ago, Whitney, which is, when I left the teaching world, I remember my mom saying to me, "Oh, Tracy." So I got my bachelor's and master's in education, and then I had gone 32 hours beyond my master's to
Mm,
who knows what. I don't even know where I was going, searching for something. But her point to me, and she even said, "You've done so much. Are you sure that you want to," I think she said, "throw this all away?" And I remember saying to her, "Mom, they don't throw my diplomas away when I choose to do something else. Like, I still have everything I gained from this experience." But I will say that when I submitted my resignation for that following school year, I was nervous, I was fearful, moved into something else. I remember at the beginning of that job that I said earlier was so easy, there were things I didn't know how to do. I didn't know how to get all the shipments ready for UPS. It's like now it sounds so ridiculous, but I'm like, I've never done any, like, what goes here, what goes here. So I was fearful there. I was nervous as I decided to start my own business, fearful, nervous. But one thing that I do now, anytime my brain says, "Ooh, I feel that nervousness," I catch it. No, that's excitement. That's not nervousness. That's excitement. So the lesson or the nugget is for people personally as well as professionally. Go for it. That
yes.
thing that you want to do, that thing you want to try, that change you want to make, is it going to be smooth sailing every time? No. But I also picture it like climbing a mountain, which, by the way, I've never done, so I need to throw that out there. But when people climb a mountain, you're going up that really steep incline. Can't be easy. You're struggling, you're hot, you're tired, whatever. When you get to the peak of the mountain and you've got that gorgeous view, I've yet to meet a person who says, "I got all the way to the top and it really wasn't worth it."
Mm,
We go through all that work on the way up. You get up there and see the view that you've created for yourself. It's totally worth it.
absolutely. And I think there's a good point in what you just said about the change and whether or not you're throwing something away. That seems to be one of the things that, clients that I work with are this concern of what other people think in particular uh, about making that change. And I will say I had a little bit of that myself. Stop being a lawyer, right? And people are
Mhm.
like, you would leave the law. You spent time in law school and 20
Yep.
years of career, and you just walk away from that. It wasn't filling me up, and
Yeah.
I wanted something else. And so I think you're absolutely right, Tracy. It's like figure out what that is, or don't figure out what it is. If you just have an inkling,
Yeah.
explore it. just
Yep.
just do it, go for it. And if it doesn't yield fruit, then make another decision. You probably got lots of things that you're interested
Yep.
in. Who
Exactly.
says you can't check them all out? So,
Exactly.
you know,
That's exactly it. I've got behind me here, I've got the book that I wrote, The Checklist Life, and I've had a few people go, "Oh, you wrote a book called The Checklist Life? I love checklists." And I'm like, "No, no, no. That's not what it is." The checklist life is exactly what you just described, Whitney. It's that idea of, so using your example, you went to law school, you're an attorney. Check. I did these things and okay, I need to move on to the next. Now be an attorney for the remainder of my career. Check, that's how I lived the majority of my adult life, just checking off those boxes
mm,
until I realized like my checklist might look really pretty and my checks are all nice and straight, exactly how they're supposed to be, but this is not very much fun. So I
right.
had to throw the checklist life away and go, you know what? I'm free falling. I'm going to figure this out on my own and
Absolutely.
not use that checklist that's up here in my brain.
Absolutely, because ultimately we've got just the one life,
You
and
got it.
no one wants to get to the end thinking of all the things that they should have done, but they are wanted to do, but they just did the things that they thought they had to do, or done
Yes.
it the way they thought they had to do it. So don't do that. Listen to Tracy and I, don't do that. So Tracy, I want to, how can someone get in touch with you if they are interested in working with you? And
Sure.
then where can they get the book? And we will make sure to put that in the post as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So my website's really easy. It's tracybianco.com. And on the website, it shares the various services that I provide. There's a way to contact me right there. Email is tracy@tracybianco.com. And the book is on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble. There's also a tab on my website with a button that says Get the Book, and it takes you to Amazon to purchase the book.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Tracy, thank you so much for making time to come and chat with me and to share a little bit about your work and your journey to work that you love. I really appreciate you coming by.
And again, I appreciate the invitation to chat with you today, and this has been so enjoyable. Thank you so much, Whitney.
You're welcome. Thank you. And everyone have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.